The Greg Kelly Show.
And Biden has put in place his advocacy for working people. So I think the man from Scranton is the right person to take on the man from Mar-a-Lago. I think this is the contrast we want in this race. I think it's a contrast that's going to inure to Joe Biden's benefit. And in the end, he will win those 3 states as he did in 2020 and win other states as well, of course.
By conning people, man from Scranton is going to beat the man from Mar-a-Lago. Number one, he's the man from Queens, actually. Queens, New York. He was born in Jamaica Hospital. All right? Yeah, wealthy, but working class at the same time. So, what a cheap campaign marketeer, the man from Scranton versus the man from Mar-a-Lago. He bought Mar-a-Lago when he was about 40 years old. Smart. He bought it for like not that much money. And he brags about things buying cheap and then turning them into beautiful properties that you could sell for a huge profit. Not that he's going to sell anything. He actually maintains. He holds a lot of stuff. That's the thing with those guys. They hold it. The man from Scranton, career politician, can actually relate to, if you're 80 years old and you're still telling stories about, your dad not being able to pay his bills, it just doesn't really resonate. Barack Obama once went out and said, Joe Biden can relate because he knows what it's like when his father lost his job. And Joe tells the same fake story. He's like, my dad got fired and he had to come home and tell me. I was 8 years old and he went right upstairs to tell me. Do you really do that? Do you tell your 8-year-old son as soon as you get home that you got fired? I don't think so. I don't think so. I heard yesterday also, Joe Biden Sr. I heard this from Levin, wasn't just in a used car salesman. He was actually part owner of the largest dealership in all of Delaware and may have had a big kind of role in the oil industry. I wasn't aware of that. That's something. All right. So what's going to happen if he does get pushed out, which I think he will? The Kamala thing is a problem. It doesn't solve their problems. They have a big problem. Kamala, there will be totally freaked out about her as well. She's even more of a loser than Joe, although in the interim, I do think she's slightly more competent. The Michelle or Hillary scenario. Hillary Clinton desperately wants it. She is waiting, plotting, scheming, but I don't think even she could stop Michelle. The convention is in Chicago, Michelle's hometown. Michelle delivered the keynote address at the 2020 Democrat convention. It's 4 years later. Who delivered the keynote address at the 2004 Democrat convention? Barack Obama. 4 years later, he was nominated as the presidential Democrat nominee. He was the guy. 4 years later, after giving the keynote address. Obama was a community organizer. Michelle is a community organizer. They both have get out the vote movements. They both went to Harvard Law School. Yeah, but Michelle has no political experience. Are you kidding? First of all, her father was actually a political animal. All right. Very involved in local politics. It's not that, does Barack like politics? No, actually, he doesn't. Famously, he doesn't like politics. He doesn't like people. But he likes power and he likes perks. And I think Michelle does as well. And every now and then, even it's like, what did they say to Gordon Gekko? Gordon, how many yachts can you water ski behind? Right? It gets a little bit old. And I think they want back on Air Force One. And a cooler Air Force One is going to be coming out pretty soon. The 747-8, which is a bigger, fancier, and brand new plane. But remember what we're dealing with Michelle. A vicious, America-hating racist. Okay? That's what she is. And here's proof, by the way. She's been doing a lot of shooting her mouth off on podcasts all over the place because there's really nothing else to do. And listen to this. Michelle seems to think that the only people who get cut in line are black women by white women. Have you ever been cut in line? Did you ever notice a racial component to it? Neither have I. But she does. Go ahead.
What the white community doesn't understand about being a person of color in this nation is that there are daily slights.
Michelle Obama opening up about her own experiences with racism on the latest episode of the Michelle Obama podcast.
in our workplaces where people talk over you or people don't even see you.
The 56-year-old author and podcast host chats with a few of her longtime pals and details her encounters with racism during her time as FLOTUS, a role she held from 2009 to 2017 when her husband Barack Obama was president.
We had just finished taking the girls to a soccer game, and we were stopping to get ice cream. And I had told the Secret Service to stand back because we were trying to be normal, trying to go in.
Of course, the girls are her daughters, Malia and Sasha, who are now 22 and 19 respectively.
There was a line, and once again, when I'm just a black woman, I noticed that white people don't even see me. They're not even looking at me. And a white woman cuts right in front of us to order, like she didn't even see us. And the girl behind the counter almost took her order. So I stepped up and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "You don't see us 4 people standing right here. You just jumped in line."
According to Michelle, the woman didn't apologize and never even looked her in the eyes.
She didn't know it was me. All she saw was a black person or a group of black people, or maybe she didn't even see that because we were that invisible.
Michelle said she could tell a bunch of stories like that, that even with her worldwide fame, she's been treated as invisible.
People will come up and pet my dogs, but will not look me in the eye. They don't know it's me. That is so telling of how white America views people who are not like them.
All right. My God. This is more offensive than I realized. I can't wait till I actually meet her one day and I could just blow her off, right? So she can feel really good about herself. She'll think I'm a racist. No, I just despise Michelle Obama, all right? And that attitude. You don't think we all have slights? We don't face adversity. We don't face rude people. You're not making eye contact. Welcome to the world, lady. What's your problem? To take all of that angst out on white people. White people. I think she's got a problem with people, maybe, Goodness. God. Oh, please let it be Michelle. Please let it be Michelle. Oh, we could not be in this election is, I was a little bit worried about her getting in. I forgot what a radical nut job she is. How dare she? She said the white community. Could you imagine if I made a judgment about, I happen to be white, about the black community because of 1, 2, 3 interactions, right? I have been unpleasant interactions all the time but I just, it just happens. You don't want it to happen, but it happens. White people cut each other in line too, I don't know. I just found that really something. Does it go on a little bit longer? Yeah, let me hear the rest.
Exist. And when we do exist, we exist as a threat. And that's exhausting.
But this isn't the first time Michelle has opened up about her personal experience with discrimination. In her Netflix documentary, Becoming, she recalled the pressure of being the first black first lady and reflected on the racist stereotypes and personal attacks she faced while campaigning.
The only thing I can do is share that does hurt. Because if we walk around pretending like it doesn't hurt, the perpetrators just say, "Oh, I was just joking. It's just politics." It's like, no. That changes the shape of a person's soul.
In an interview with Oprah, she revealed how she
changes the shape of her soul? Somebody said something? It changes the shape. Toughen up, lady. She is too much. My God. I'm not sticking up for white people or any people, but if it wasn't for millions of white people, she would not have been the first lady. You know what I mean? Right? White people help her husband become president. You can't do it with just black people, okay? White people. 2 terms. And she's still walking around with a giant chip on her shoulder. It's absolutely astounding. What a selfish, vain, stupid woman. And I've seen that Becoming documentary. She's a rotten filmmaker. It's the most boring, self-indulgent crap I've ever seen. She has a 20-minute conversation with her brother about a belt. BELT, a belt she's wearing. Granted, it is a conversation starter of a belt. It looks like something Darth Vader would wear. It's very thick and long. It's got like buttons on it, just like Darth Vader would wear. You might talk about it for 10 seconds, 30 seconds. They talked about it for 5 minutes, not 5 minutes. Craig, her brother, who also is a real nasty guy and sees racism around every single corner. Hello, Mike. Yes.
Hey, Greg. I was going to, after hearing that, oh, my God. But listen, I hope they keep Biden in. I disagree with you. I don't want to see him go because I want to see this guy just disassembled from now until November because he deserves it.
Yeah, I see your point, but I don't want him to be president because I still think that's a really important, sensitive job, and they may think about doing something really bad, like to Taiwan, invading it because this guy's out to lunch and his team can't cover for him anymore. Or, I don't know, something bad could happen. What happens if we're struck? What happens if there's another 9/11? And he comes out, and we just see, he is he going to form complete sentences or not? No, it's the content of those sentences. We need somebody in case of an emergency, and he's not that guy. Kamala is not that woman either, but she's better than Joe. Anyway, Mike, I appreciate that. And it's a valid point of view. Andrew, yes.
Hey, Greg, just on Michelle. She's actually the one that is institutionally racist, her and her husband. They didn't reform the crime bill, the 1994 crime bill, which Biden co-authored. Trump did that. Obama actually said it. There was a racist element to it. He didn't do it. They went to the finest prep schools, Obama and Michelle, yet they blocked school choice because the teachers union gives them money. So that's horrendously a racist against black people. So she's actually institutionally racist. Just want to throw that out.
Okay.
Your thoughts on that?
No, yep. They had privileged lives, and you know what? They don't give a damn about the hood. They don't give a damn about the hood, especially that Barack. Oh, gosh. Where is the Barack Obama Centers for Violence Prevention? Something like that. How about rescuing poor black men in Chicago? Men and boys who are making horrendously stupid decisions. Many of them. Not all, but many. I saw Barack Obama, instead of going to the hood and trying to straighten things out, you know what he did? He joined in a perverse rap session. Rap. Hip hop, rap, whatever. A bunch of kids using disgusting lyrics, and there he was, right? Dancing along, playing, right? And why does he do that? Because he can't lead. Because he has a complex about himself. Do people see me as black or white? Remember, he had a white mother. So, he's always been viewed in Chicago with some suspicion. Is he white? Is he black? Who the hell is this guy? Kind of like me. Not the white-black part, but who the hell is this guy? Who is he? What's so special about him? And why the hell didn't he release his birth certificate? Why didn't he when he was asked? They played a big game with that. Hillary Clinton is the one who got that going, by the way. The Kenya thing. Hillary Clinton and what was that guy's name? He used to write for the New York Times. He was said to have a habit of slapping women around, kind of like Eric Schneiderman. Man, oh man, we've seen some real Democrats, you guys. Eric Schneiderman, I forgot about that guy. Whatever happened to him? It was a 6-hour story. The Attorney General of New York State was dating women and on the first date punching them right in the mouth, smacking him in the mouth at a red light. Here, take that. Whatever happened to that guy? But the Attorney General before that, Andrew Cuomo. Well, I could say a lot about Andrew Cuomo, but I will say this. He's always treated women with respect. Any women he didn't treat with respect, didn't want to be treated with respect, if you know what I mean. All right, one more. Jacqueline, hello.
Hi, Greg. Since you're talking about the bombers, and it came out the other day that Barack Obama is in talks with whether or not they're going to take Joe Biden out as their candidate. I know I'm not the only person. A lot of people have felt over the past 5 years that Obama was pulling the strings and propping Joe up and running him so he could control him. And it's no surprise to me that that leaked out. I think that they're trying to send a very clear message to their Democratic base. Joe Biden is not the one who is in total control and is going to make the decision whether or not he's going to be the party's nominee. Obama is going to be making that decision. And just as Joe has always done, when Barack Obama says to jump, Joe Biden asks how high.
Well, according to Al Sharpton, no black people are involved in this process. Check this out. Cut 23, please. Cut 23.
I looked at the press conference last night and said, where are the black reporters? We're looking at all whites questioning Biden, and black voters supposed to just get in line. So I think that a lot of the people that are stepping out there are taking things for granted. You notice that maybe only one member of the Congressional Black Caucus has even said Biden ought to step aside. Congressman Jim Clyburn is going to be on Politics Nation with me on tomorrow night. I'm going to be guided a lot by what he has to say. Don't forget, it was the stonewall of the black vote and then the Latino vote that put Biden in nomination. And for us to be out of these discussions, I think is offensive and elitist.
Okay, 2 words, Al. Tawana Brawley. Be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
James Flippin, hi. I don't know if you think this is good news or bad news or fake news or, you know what I'm going to run by you? The new movie that says that it's called Lover of Men, the Abraham Lincoln story.
Oh, that old chestnut.
And they say that Abraham Lincoln was gay, which I'm going to say right now, without having looked at a damn thing and not even knowing the name of his wife. What was the name of his wife? Mrs. Lincoln.
I want to say Abigail. Is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mary Todd.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So he wasn't gay.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly. I mean, I've never really done much research on that whole rumor, but they say, oh, well, he shared a room when he first moved to D.C. or something like that with another man. But that used to happen all the time back then.
Like rooming houses, boarding houses.
Yeah. It was just a totally different sensibility.
Well, maybe it was a typo and it was a bathhouse.
Oh, well, I mean, that would be a horse of a different color.
Game on, right? All right, we're not done with this. There's no kidding, a silly movie to that effect. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Greg Kelly Show.
It's a beautiful phrase in the Declaration of Independence, consent of the governed. Consent of the governed. They were upset that the king was imposing all kinds of taxes on them and imposing all kinds of rules rather arbitrarily. They had no representation, and they could not grant consent. And that's kind of a fundamental thing. You have to have consent of the governed, which we're not consenting to any of this stuff, by the way. I mean, a 9,000-page budget, even our representatives don't read the whole damn thing. They can't. Nobody can. The deep state is in charge. I mean, the National Geographic Oceospatial Intelligence Agency. Did you give your consent for that thing? And these federal buildings all over the place. I mean, there's the scope of the federal government is scary big, scary, and totally in violation of what our founding fathers were talking about. I guess Lincoln was technically not a founding father, was he, James Flippin? He was
no. Yeah, I mean, obviously they give him so much credit when it comes to keeping the republic together amid, the Civil War, but not quite the founding father.
Well, his sexuality is now a focus of some debate, and this is the trailer. Okay, it's called Lover of Men, and I think this is a kind of a heavy duty production house, just not in time for Gay Pride Month. Hey, by the way, do you think if I go back to this church that if they have the gay pride flag out front, I'm going to say something.
What church?
I don't want to say.
A church that you saw?
No, a church that I have gone to.
Oh, okay.
And if they got the gay pride flag up, I am going to have to say something.
You know, this hasn't come up, but the last time that I was driving by the church that I grew up going to, I was with my parents on Father's Day, and my mom, they have a huge, big LGBTQ flag out front. And my mom said, maybe you should tell Greg Kelly that flag is flying out front.
I mean, I'm not going to run down every church that does it.
You'd have a lot of work to do.
But I'm not going to go to a church that continues to do this. And I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I'm not being unreasonable. This is total insanity. It's totally insane. Okay, it's just in front of the church.
Some of these churches, I know the one that I grew up going to, they kind of have a left-leaning bend. You know, they're kind of, for example, Church of Christ in that particular instance, it's just kind of a more liberal church.
Well, the Bible is the Bible, and it should be Bible-based. And all this other crap, you know, is man-made junk. And it's getting my Irish up, and so is this movie, James. All right, do you want to listen to it? I haven't heard it either.
I'm kind of curious.
That's what got you into this novel. All right, go ahead. It's called Lover of Men, the Abe Lincoln story.
He is considered a sacred figure by both Republicans and Democrats.
He led the nation through its greatest crisis.
He's on our currency. We build monuments to him.
He's the greatest president the United States has ever had.
Today, the big question that people are asking is, was Abraham Lincoln gay?
In the 19th century, for many men, their closest relationships were other men, and same for women.
Men would live with another man when they're single, and often did, and shared beds.
Shut up!
Probably slept in the same bed with men.
Stop! It's called roommates, you schmucks. It's called. Are you insane? Is this what? It's called.
It's just kind of fascinating. It's like, who cares? Ultimately.
Well, now I gotta know.
Well, I guess now you're kind of have your, interests up in that particular subject. But I mean, why would it matter?
And also, I think the bed was not as like, it has like the bed. It has obvious like romantic connotations. No, I think it was like a sleeping platform.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
More than he did with women.
One of the things that fascinates scholars is his bedding down with Joshua Speed for 4 years.
There is love between those two men.
When you put together all of the evidence, it's really startling.
Lincoln has a type: dashing, daring.
We have this notion.
Hey, stop! I can just tell by listening to this that these are all gay people. These are gay historians. Dashing. Right? I mean, you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, that whole, the gaydar will fail you sometimes, believe me. But
yeah, case in point.
Right.
But I mean, this is kind of,
it's just like, and the thing that I find kind of fascinating is like, obviously people back then knew that he, had a roommate that was a man, right? And they were together for years. I mean, that wouldn't have been exactly
when
a
you
secret.
say together for years, it's like the Odd Couple. I mean, Oscar and Felix, everybody knew they weren't gay.
Right.
All right, keep going.
If you have an attraction like that, boom, that's your orientation.
Sexuality through the mid-19th century was far more fluid.
But for someone who wanted a political career, it was mandatory that you have a wife.
Dear Speed, I shall be very lonesome without you. Yours forever, Lincoln.
What you have in the 19th century was very strict marriage culture. Get married, and then everything is possible.
Captain David Derrickson became friends with Lincoln while they were living here at the cottage.
There is a soldier here devoted to the president, and when Mrs. L is not home, sleeps with him. What stuff?
He was seen wearing the president's nightshirt.
If you want a smoking gun, here it is.
But then you see all these shifts to the end of the 19th century.
Freud was devastating to sexuality, defining very rigid categories.
And they're saying if a man loves another man, it's unnatural.
Homosexuality is a mental illness.
It was not only wrong, it was punishable. If Lincoln were to look down today, he would see the United States at a particularly fragile moment.
History is so important because it allows us to understand who we were, who we might become.
Lincoln's legacy is the insistence on equality. We have been in
all right, I'm bored. I get the point. These guys, well, Hey, it's a free country. If you want to make a documentary like this, you can.
Yeah,
right?
but
Right?
it's just more of the same, though, Greg. There's people on the political left who are really, 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 really into things like identity politics. That's like almost more. It matters more to them than almost anything else in life. Like, for example, there's so many things you could make about Abraham Lincoln a movie about, right? Like his legal career, the fact that he was like a well-known wrestler in the amateur ranks.
He was?
Yeah.
Well, that actually goes kind of with the gay stuff. No, I mean, kind of. All right, keep going.
I'm just saying.
What else did you know about it? Legal?
Well, there was that really interesting. Did you ever see that show Drunk History?
No.
Okay. So there's a funny story in that about where Lincoln was consulted on this legal case, but his co-attorneys didn't really want him on the legal case. So he was working on it for like a year somewhere in Kentucky. And then he shows up for the trial and his, co-attorneys are like, you're still working on this case? I didn't even know that. So like, there's a lot of different fascinating things you could cover about the life of Abraham Lincoln. Why would his sexuality be so how? And the fact that they said it was like fluid in the 1800s. What does that even mean?
Nobody talked about fluid.
Yeah.
They came up with that word 2 years ago to talk about.
And that's not true.
It's not true.
What?
It's a little bit. Anyway, you're right. There's a lot of stuff about Lincoln. You know what movie I did not make it through? Lincoln.
No?
No, did not make it through it.
I love that movie.
No, not a good movie in my book. All right, well, happy Friday, everybody, and it's time to talk to Barbara. Hello, Barbara.
Hello, Greg. Happy Friday to you, too. And hearing everything that's swirling around and that we have to think about over the weekend and what is going to come up next, what lies, what deceits are going to be revealed. Samuel Adams spoke to us. He said, if ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men possess the highest seats in government, our country will need its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. So those of us who know our nation, who know our Constitution, who know what this country is all about, that our liberties come from God, not from government, those of us cannot sit back and say, oh, it'll be okay. It always has been okay. This will work out. Don't worry. No, that is what's called the normalcy bias, where you think because something has always been that way, it will always continue to be that way. That has cost civilizations, that has cost individuals their lives. No normalcy bias, no more complacency and being compliant, no more thinking that someone else will come and rescue us. We have an amazing leader in Donald Trump, but he is a leader. And we need to support him, and we need to support him every day. And I know I've talked before about how important it is to vote early so that money is not wasted by the campaigns calling you and knocking on your front door. It's important to donate often, especially if you can donate monthly. The campaigns know then what money they can count on. They know they can go out and buy media early before it gets so expensive toward the end of the election. We can ask our friends at church if anyone needs a ride to the polls, if anyone needs help with getting their absentee ballot. There are so many things that we experienced patriots who have been around for a while and have seen what can happen in government. There is every need for us to step up, do our share, and help others to know how to do their share also.
I love it. I love it. Money, volunteer, get involved. Absolutely. My gosh. You think about what they did all the way back in the 1700s, 1800s, what they did for this country. Imagine that. Yes. Imagine fighting a war without any heat, without air conditioning, without a place to go to take a shower. I mean, crossing that damn river and around Christmas time. I was in the woods once around West Point, and it was so cold. I'm like, what did they do back then? At least I was only out there for a couple of hours. I mean, it is insane. You go to war now. Did I ever tell you about the time I was in Iraq and I went to the base after being on a mission in Fallujah, and I went back to the base, and they had a pastry chef, and they had an ice cream social. And they had, shish kebab night. I mean, it was the most, I bought my first iPod at a base in Iraq. War is so genteel now, although it's also brutal and ugly. at the same time. They overdid it in Iraq. Well, Barbara, it's all great stuff. Everything else good with you?
Everything is good. I'm on vacation now out in the Midwest. I'm on a lake in Michigan having a wonderful family vacation. I'm going to visit relatives in Ohio. But I've read a story that's very big locally about Springfield, Ohio, where this town of 25,000 people has been inundated by the Biden administration's open border policies, inundated by 20,000 Haitians in the last 2 or 3 years coming into the town. The town only had a population of maybe double that. They are drowning in the expenses of trying to take care of these immigrants, these illegal immigrants who have come across the border and who have come to this town in Ohio.
Springfield, Ohio. I got to check that out. Hey, while you're in Michigan, watch out for that Gretchen Whitmer, the hyper-ambitious mean girl of Michigan. She's a name that's being thrown around quite a lot. And the more I learn about her, the more I don't like her. Barbara, please be careful during your travels. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly. This is the Greg Kelly Show.
I looked at the press conference last night and said, where are the black reporters? We're looking at all whites questioning Biden, and black voters supposed to just get in line. So I think that a lot of the people that are stepping out there are taking things for granted. You notice that maybe only one member of the Congressional Black Caucus has even said Biden ought to step aside. Congressman Jim Clyburn is going to be on Politics Nation with me on tomorrow night. I'm going to be guided a lot by what he has to say. Don't forget, it was the stonewall of the black vote and then the Latino vote that put Biden in nomination. And for us to be out of these discussions, I think is offensive and elitist.
Offensive and elitist. You're offensive and elitist. I've seen Al Sharpton get on private jets. He gets on private jets to go to George Floyd's funeral. Al Sharpton. Criminal. Prosecuting Donald Trump, and Al Sharpton's flying around on private jets. A civil rights leader gets to fly on private jets and wear $15,000 suits. Ludicrous suits, by the way. I mean, totally stupid-looking suits. What was the problem? No black reporters? I mean, if anything, if you want to think as narrowly as that, you should be glad that there were no black reporters, because the reporters failed miserably. All right, every day of the Biden administration, and even last night, because the questions largely sucked. Except that one guy from Britain who was pretty cool. You know what? One thing I kind of wanted he made like 3 or 4 cognitive errors right there in the press conference. One of the later guys could have said, excuse me, but you've referred to Donald Trump as your vice president. You said that you are getting your orders from the commander in chief. You are the commander in chief. You referred to Zelensky as Putin and Putin as Zelensky. And that's just right now. What does this say about your cognitive ability? Please. I mean, will you resign tonight or tomorrow? I think that would have been a good question. That would have been good. Everyone's giving that guy a hard time. Who cares? You know, the guy who gave that speech about, hey, isn't it great to be married and be Christian and have kids? And of course it is. And Serena Williams had a problem with it at the, whatever the hell it was, the ESPN something or other. ESPN. Oh, somebody told me that Biden, and I did not really follow him. He's talking about China for about 4 minutes. And he lost the audience. I'm not saying it was that sophisticated. It was like his voice is monotone and you start daydreaming. But they're trying to say that Biden was brilliant when it came to China. Just brilliant. And talking about the balance of power in Russia. Number one, it really actually wasn't that brilliant. I know it wasn't. But let's pretend for a moment that it was nuanced and well-informed. You know what that's about? That's because he has a financial interest in Russia, Ukraine, and China. That's why he's so on top of it. a while back, I used to love sports. I used to, when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, I would cry when the Yankees lost. I knew everything about baseball there was to know, right up until about 1981. And then I lost all interest, basically overnight. I had a good talking to, and that's it. I was crying because the Yankees lost, and my dad said, "Hey, these people smarten up. These people don't care about your problems. They're from all over the country." I'm like, "You're right. You're totally right." I lost all interest in sports like that. Somebody said, and sometimes I miss that. Sometimes it's like, oh, wow, wouldn't it be cool to care who wins this game? And somebody said, you know how you can get involved real quick? Start betting substantial amounts of money. And the moment you start doing that, you are going to inhale information. You are going to know everything there is to know about all of that stuff. And that's what's going on with Joe Biden, because he has personal financial interests in what China does and what Russia does and how this war turns out, Ukraine and all the stuff they have on them. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? All right, the week is just about over, and Rich is standing by. Hi.
Yeah, 7 or 8 times last night, Biden started to answer questions, sounding somewhat coherent, and then he'd say, "Oh, by the way," and then he'd go off on some tangent for the next 2 minutes and never get back to the original question he was supposed to answer. He is the Christopher Walken of politics, Greg.
What does Christopher Walken have to do with it?
Well, Christopher Walken, if you hear him talking about it, speaks in fragmented sentences. He never completes a single thought. He's a little out there, but
Christopher Walken. I know a lot of people do Christopher Walken impressions. Hey, look, it's okay to not answer the reporter's question. You can do that. I mean, look, here's the big moment, right? Where's the big moment? The big moment is this, all right? He lost it at the very top. Cut 2, please. Cut 2.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Let's start there. Let's end there. That was the very first answer. Very first answer. Mike is standing by. Yes, Mike. Are you ready this time?
Greg, this is a military question. Remember the balloon incident about a year ago?
Yeah.
7 or 8 days for a response. If China moves on Taiwan, how long will it get up to Sleepy Joe to get an answer if we should respond?
How long would it take Sleepy Joe to respond?
Well, to get up the chain of command for permission to shoot back or something by the Navy.
Well, Joe's gotten himself in trouble on this question because we're supposed to say nothing, to be honest, about Taiwan, like whether or not we would fight to save Taiwan. What do they call it? Strategic ambivalence. It's called strategic ambivalence. That's actually our policy. The White House would find out right away. You're right, Sleepy Joe. And then you got to worry about him, and he's angry. And, if he makes the wrong decision and his staff knows he's making the wrong, he's got to go tonight. David, hello.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much for taking my call. I just want to make a quick point that I find it very suspicious that the Democratic Party threw Joe Biden under the bus. They have something sinister up their sleeve. This is all planned out, that they're getting rid of him. They're going to put someone in of their choice, like Michelle and Hillary together. Who knows, but they got a plan.
Maybe. Or maybe they thought they could get away with it, and now they can't, and they're stuck.
Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k as the stock market braces for impact. I'm Larry Kudlow, and I urge you to fortify your savings with physical gold with my friends at Priority Gold. To learn how gold and silver can help diversify your savings, please call 1-800-405-GOLD or just visit PriorityGold.com to get a free gold information guide. That's 1-800-405-GOLD.